Britain does grand houses rather well. Stately homes with manicured gardens and afternoon cream teas. National Trust properties where volunteers explain the silverware and visitors admire the portraits. Period dramas filmed in ballrooms where duchesses once waltzed. Comfortable history packaged for comfortable consumption. But some mansions never welcomed visitors. Scattered across these islands are houses where the caretakers refuse to work alone after dark. Properties where estate agents mention things they cannot explain. Grand halls where something happened, and the walls themselves seem to remember. I have gone through county archives and local testimonies to bring you 10 mansions where locals genuinely warn you not to visit. Now, before we dive in, if you find this helpful, tap that subscribe button. You will not want to miss what is coming next. Let us begin with a castle that has been home to the same family for over 600 years. Glamis Castle in Angus, Scotland sits in the broad and fertile valley of Strathmore, approximately 20 kilometres inland from the North Sea. Drive through the estate on a summer afternoon, and you will see one of Scotland's most photographed castles. Pink sandstone towers rising against green hills. This was the childhood home of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. Royal history, respectable history, but Glamis holds other histories that the family has never fully explained. The most persistent legend involves what locals call the Monster of Glamis. The story describes a hideously deformed child born to the family and kept hidden in the castle throughout his life. His suite of rooms was allegedly bricked up after his death. There is an old story that guests staying at Glamis once hung towels from the windows of every room, trying to locate the hidden chamber. When they looked at the castle from outside, several windows were apparently towel-free. The Grey Lady has been seen in the chapel for centuries. She is said to be Lady Janet Douglas, caught up in regional politics and ultimately convicted of witchcraft in 1537. She was burned at the stake on Castle Hill in Edinburgh. Her spirit reportedly returned to the place where she had lived before her accusation. Then there is Earl Beardy. One of the lords of Glamis was playing cards with the Earl of Crawford, and he refused to stop even as the Sabbath approached. According to the legend, the devil appeared at midnight and asked to join the game. The rash Earl Beardy promptly gambled away his soul. There are several reports of guests waking to find him leaning over their beds, gazing at them with what witnesses describe as evil intent. The castle remains open to visitors. The family acknowledges the legends without confirming them. Staff members who have worked there for decades simply say that some parts of the castle feel different after dark. Travelling south to Devon, we find Berry Pomeroy Castle near Totnes. This is a Tudor mansion built within the walls of an earlier medieval fortress. The Pomeroy family held this land since the 11th century. By 1547, they were in financial difficulties and sold everything to Edward Seymour, the first Duke of Somerset. The castle has been a ruin for centuries. Roofless walls and empty windows overlook a wooded valley. English Heritage maintains the site. Visitors come for the architecture and the views, and many leave with stories they did not expect to tell. Berry Pomeroy is reported to be one of the most haunted places in the British Isles. What makes it unusual is that most sightings occur during daylight hours. The Blue Lady is said to be the ghost of a Pomeroy daughter from the 14th century. The story tells of a child born from abuse by her own father. In her distress, she strangled the infant. Her spirit has been seen at the top of St. Margaret's Tower, and inside it, appearing as a blue light that sometimes follows visitors around the castle grounds. Some people report seeing a face within the blue orb. The White Lady haunts the dungeons. She is identified as Margaret Pomeroy, imprisoned by her jealous sister Eleanor and left to starve to death. Visitors have reported seeing her waving from the dungeon entrance. Local guides who have worked at Berry Pomeroy for years describe a curious consistency in the reports. Different visitors in different decades describe the same figures in the same locations. The ghosts do not change their routes. Further north in the remote countryside of Northumberland stands Chillingham Castle. Originally built in the 12th century and fortified in 1344, this castle guarded the border between England and Scotland for generations. It saw siege and slaughter. Prisoners were held and executed within its walls. The supernatural activity at Chillingham is among the most documented in the country. The castle is known to house the Blue Boy, also called the Radiant Boy. Witnesses report a child's scream echoing through the walls at midnight, followed by a flash of blue light. The cries are heard most often near the Pink Room, where guests have reported sudden chills and unexplained flickering of lights. During renovation work, builders discovered the bones of a child and fragments of blue cloth hidden within a wall near that very room. The remains were given a proper burial. Some say the screaming stopped afterward, others say it continues. The spirits of 8 executed prisoners are said to haunt the place where they died. Visitors and investigators have reported a ghostly royal procession, a mysterious female figure named Lady Mary, and the spirit of a tortured child. The torture chamber remains on display, its instruments preserved as a reminder of what this castle witnessed. Closer to London, Ham House in Richmond presents a different atmosphere entirely. This was once a bustling political playground for courtiers of the Stuart dynasty. Built by Sir Thomas Vavasor in 1610, it became a centre of ambition and intrigue during the reigns of James I and Charles II. Ham House is said to be one of the most haunted houses in the United Kingdom, with an extraordinary 15 ghosts reported in its corridors. The winter mists in the Cherry Garden are said to reveal figures of former dukes and duchesses, soldiers and servants walking paths they knew in life. Staff members report a strange scent that appears without source, said to signal that a spirit is nearby. The house is now managed by the National Trust. Visitors come for the restored interiors and the 17th century gardens. Some visitors experience nothing unusual. Others leave quickly and do not return. Now, we must shift from places where apparitions are reported to mansions where the darkness comes from documented history. From contested sightings to confirmed tragedies. From ghosts that may not exist to horrors that certainly did. In the quiet village of Borley in Essex, once stood an unremarkable house that became the most famous haunted residence in the world during the 20th century. Borley Rectory. The renowned British paranormal investigator Harry Price called it the most haunted house in England. Built in 1862 by Reverend Henry Dawson Ellis Bull to house his large family, the rectory contained between 23 and 32 rooms, depending on how you counted them. It burned down in 1939. For decades before its destruction, it was the site of intensive paranormal investigation. A regular visitor was said to be a nun who had broken her vows for love and was bricked up alive as punishment. She was seen gliding silently along what locals called the Nun's Walk. A later resident allegedly found human remains in a cupboard. Witnesses reported phantom footsteps at night and messages appearing on walls, written by invisible hands. Here we must acknowledge a crucial caveat. In 1948, 3 members of the Society for Psychical Research investigated Harry Price's claims. Their findings concluded that Price had fraudulently produced some of the phenomena. The study stated that many events were either faked or caused by natural factors such as rats and the strange acoustics attributed to the odd shape of the house. Marianne Foister, a former resident, later admitted she had seen no apparitions. The ghostly noises were caused by the wind, by friends she invited to play pranks, and by herself playing practical jokes on her husband. Many of the legends had been invented. Despite this debunking, Borley Rectory remains a cornerstone of British ghost lore. The rectory is gone. The legend persists. Sometimes the story matters more than the truth. In Gloucestershire, Hidden in a wooded valley near Nymphsfield stands Woodchester Mansion. This is a Grade 1 listed building, which means it is considered of exceptional interest. It is also profoundly strange. Woodchester Mansion was never finished. In 1868, for reasons that have never been fully explained, the workers literally put down their tools and left the site. The rooms remain unfinished. The windows were never glazed. Rumours persist that a murder on the site caused the exodus. The hauntings began before the abandonment, when the second Earl of Ducie threw a dinner party to celebrate his succession in 1840. The ghost of his father suddenly appeared. He demanded to sit at the head of the table. The second Earl was so frightened that he left the property shortly afterward. During the Second World War, American and Canadian troops set up camp nearby and used the mansion's cellars for storage. They trained for the D-Day landings in the lakes of Woodchester Park. During one exercise, a bridge over the lake collapsed and several soldiers drowned. Their bodies were brought back to the mansion. Mediums who have visited Woodchester have sensed the presence of people in military uniforms inside the mansion. The sound of 1940s music is heard echoing through the corridors. Visitors report moving cold spots and the feeling of being watched in empty rooms. The mansion is now open on specific days for tours. Volunteers who maintain the property speak carefully about what they have experienced. They do not claim certainty. They simply describe what they have seen. Samlesbury Hall in Lancashire dates to 1325. This medieval building served as the family home of the Southworth family for generations. It is renowned as one of the most haunted buildings in Britain because of its long history of tragedy. The White Lady is the ghost of Dorothy Southworth. She fell in love with a young man from the de Hogton family. Unfortunately, Dorothy came from a Catholic family, while the de Hogtons were Protestant. The two lovers were forbidden to marry. Despite this prohibition, they continued to meet in secret and planned to elope. On the night of their planned escape, Dorothy's brother discovered them. He killed not only the young nobleman, but two of his accomplices. Dorothy is said to have gone insane before dying at a convent abroad. What gives this story weight is physical evidence. 3 human skeletons were found hidden in the walls of Samlesbury Hall. This discovery seems to confirm at least part of the legend. There is also the matter of the priest's blood. A Catholic priest was discovered hiding at the hall during the period of religious persecution. He was dragged out and beheaded on the spot. According to the legend, his blood stained the floor of the room where he died. No matter how hard the floor is scrubbed, the stain cannot be washed away. The room was bricked up for 200 years and reopened in 1898. Servants refused to remain in the room until the floorboards were replaced. The blood stain is said to reappear to this day. Dorothy has been spotted by visitors and employees inside the hall. She has also been seen in nearby fields and even at the local bus stop, causing drivers to stop for a passenger who never boards. Wentworth Woodhouse in South Yorkshire is considered the largest private house in the United Kingdom. Its east front stretches over 600 feet. The property covers over 250 acres. 3 of Britain's most powerful families lived here over the centuries: the Wentworths, the Watsons, and the Fitzwilliams. The ghost of Lord Strafford is said to walk down the oak staircase every Friday night, carrying his head. He was executed in 1641 after being convicted of treason against Parliament. For decades, there have been reports of a ghostly monk and of an unknown man who stands absolutely still, like a statue, as people walk past. Visitors and staff have heard footsteps in empty corridors, children laughing in abandoned rooms, and doors slamming with no one nearby. Some people have reported being grabbed by unseen hands. The house is now open to the public. Tours are available. Staff members neither confirm nor deny the stories. They simply say the house has its moods. In Mayfair, at the heart of London, stands a 4-storey townhouse that became known as the most haunted house in the city during the Victorian era. 50 Berkeley Square is a Grade 2 listed building. It was the former home of British Prime Minister George Canning. It is now occupied by a bookshop on the ground floor. The legend says the attic room is haunted by the spirit of a young woman who threw herself from the top floor window to escape her abusive uncle. Her spirit is said to take the form of a brown mist capable of frightening people to death. In 1872, Lord Lyttelton reportedly stayed overnight in the attic on a bet. He brought a shotgun. During the night, he fired at an apparition. In the morning, he searched for evidence of what he had shot at, but found only spent cartridges. There is a rational explanation offered by Lady Dorothy Neville. She said a relative named Mr. Myers lived in the house after losing his fiancée. His behaviour bordered on lunacy. He stayed inside all day and became active at night, wandering about and making strange sounds. Lady Neville thought his nocturnal activities had been misinterpreted as evidence of a ghost. The bookshop staff today report nothing unusual. Whether the ghost departed with Mr. Myers or whether she waits in the attic above the philosophy section is a question no one can answer. Our final mansion takes us to the far north. Skaill House in Orkney was originally a simple mansion built by Bishop George Graham in the 1620s. It sits close to Skara Brae, the Neolithic village older than the pyramids. This is ancient land. There is evidence that the southern wing of Skaill House is built upon a pre-Norse burial ground. During preparation for the house's first public viewing, 15 skeletons dating from the Norse era were found near the south wing and under the gravel of the east porch. The house was built on the dead. Visitors have reported doors opening and closing by themselves. Strange smells appear without source. A tall man with dark hair has been seen walking the corridors. The current laird has heard loud footsteps in empty hallways. Standing in Skaill House, looking out toward the ancient stones of Skara Brae, you are surrounded by 5,000 years of continuous human presence. The dead beneath the foundations lived and died before written history. What ties them to this place is older than Christianity, older than the languages we speak, older than anything we can name. So there you have it. 10 mansions across Britain where something is deeply wrong. Some are wrong in ways that attract ghost hunters and investigators, with documented hauntings and consistent testimonies across centuries. There is the atmospheric weight of violent history. Others are wrong in ways that should give us pause. Tragedies that left their mark on stone and soil. Deaths that were never properly mourned. Injustices that echo through empty rooms. Britain's grand houses hold all of this. The cream teas and the hidden chambers. The period dramas and the parish records that document things too unsettling for tourism brochures. These places exist whether we visit them or not. Understanding them is part of understanding where we live. The walls remember what we prefer to forget. If you have visited any of these mansions, or if you know of similar places in your area, I want to hear from you. Comments from people who actually live near these houses are worth more than any archive. Tell me what I got right. Tell me what I missed. Tell me about the grand house in your county where the caretaker speaks carefully, where certain questions produce silence, where the past refuses to stay buried. These stories matter. The places are real. The history is documented, and the warnings, whether whispered by locals or recorded in estate papers, are worth heeding. Please watch the video appearing on your screen next, and do not forget to subscribe to Cottage Dreams.